the company today to you, and we will tell you a little bit about the technical details. And if you have questions, just ask them. We will try to answer them as best as we can. On the bottom, you can see my contact data. By the way, the number which is shown on the bottom is our regular office number, so you will reach either Rudolf or me or our colleague Yu Liang for support. And yes, basically this is our usual number for everybody. SolaX likes to work with you together and give you the perfect opportunity and the perfect solution for your system. So the first part would be introduction of the company. I'm telling a little bit about SolaX, about the origin and things like that. Second part is introduction of the PV inverters, the usual string inverters, which are used on every rooftop right now. And the next one is the SolaX hybrid inverters, which are really interesting because you can use them with a battery without an additional battery inverter. And the last part, but not least part, is the triple power battery. And that's about our batteries. And yeah, I think we will have many information this day. And if you have any questions or anything, just raise your hand and ask my colleagues. Like I already told, my colleague Rudolf Schell is very competent and he's in the chat. And I'm really confident he can answer all the questions. Okay, let's start. So it's about the introduction. So we have some SolaX K6. Oh, I have a delay here, some kind. Okay, so some points. So in 2010, SolaX was founded. It is it's a division of Sunny Energy Group. So we are a big company, which SolaX is a part of it. So basically, we are the renewable part of the whole company, more or less. Then 2013 was a milestone for us, or I think for the whole PV industry in general, because the first hybrid inverter was launched with ion battery, lithium battery, and it was presented in Munich and Intersolar. And yes, it was, in my knowledge, was the first one. And yeah, we started a development which is going on right now, and I think it will go to the hybrid inverters at least in the end, because it's a product you can both ways. You can use it both ways, and yeah, it makes sense. We have more than 500 employees over the world. 3 of them are here in Germany, and one of our colleagues is in Belgium, who's responsible too for the German market. Then we have about 4 or 5 in the Netherlands. In Great Britain, we have a big division, and those are the headquarters in Europe right now. And we are still growing, as you see. We on the Hungarian market now, on the Czech market, on the Austrian market. Basically, you can say we are on the whole European market. Yes, like I already told, over 70 countries over the world. But I think this figure is already old, because we are growing constantly, and yeah, you can say every month we get a new market. It's like that, and yeah, we're still growing. This figure is an old one. I would say it's right now about 100. We have a production capacity of 2,000 pieces per month, but we already increased it to 30,000, as I know, and we have the opportunity to increase it even further. So if you have a demand, a big demand, don't worry. We can deliver everything you need. Just tell your wholesaler, and you will get what you need. So that's not a problem. We have all the product there on stock, so there's no shortage. So that's the SolaX timeline. In 2010, like I already told you, the company was founded in Hangzhou. In 2011 was the first PV inverter delivered, or to the customer, the first PV inverter was sold or something like this. This was something like the beginning, I would say. I mean, in 2010 it was founded, but in 2011 the operation began to run, and basically that's for me the start. And 2013 is the introduction of the hybrid inverter and the opening of an dependence in the UK. It was basically the first, I think, in Europe, and from there it spread. In 2014, Australian office was founded. Australia is a really big market for us. I think it's pretty obvious they have a good yield there because of the sun, and yes, the regulations are good, and they basically like our product very much. 2015, SolaX publishes Europe's first three-phase hybrid inverter. So that means the first hybrid inverter was a single phase, and we just developed our product further so we could offer a three-phase hybrid inverter, and that makes it easier to fulfill customers' wishes. So you can choose between one phase and three-phase hybrid inverters. By the way, you can choose between one-phase inverters and three-phase inverters. We have everything in our offering. So 2016 was basically the start of the marketing in the Netherlands. And the hybrid inverters, it was launched the third generation of hybrid inverters. I think it was the SKSU 5000E. This was an inverter with an integrated Wi-Fi interface, and which was compatible to LG batteries. So in this time we used LG batteries or Pylon-Tech. In 2017 released a long-awaited energy strategy. Okay, that's a little bit more strategic. Yeah, just to make a guess what it will look in the future. 2018, we have launched our own batteries. At this point, we just went from LG to our own batteries, which we developed ourselves. And the only thing for our batteries which we buy is our cells, but that's pretty common. But the whole operating system is all developed by us. It's all made by us. So it's basically one step for one product from one producer. So in 2019, the office in Germany was opened. My colleague Ruoff was the first one and who built it up here. And yes, then he had our colleague Julian, and both of them just managed the German market. And in 2020, I just came to the team, and now we are three people in Germany, and And in 2020 was the first inverter in Japan released, so we are even on the market in Japan. So those are some infos about the company. Like we are in Hangzhou in the technology part. Other R&D bases are in Wuhan, Shenzhen, and Zhuhai. Yes, basically those are our headquarters in China, and as you can see, it is really impressive. I think I for myself was not there right now, but would have already visited China. Maybe in the future, but that's another thing. And we have our headquarters right now are in Germany, Netherlands, United Kingdom, Australia, and USA. But as I already mentioned, we are growing constantly, and I think there should be some more countries right now, but we will add them in the next time. Okay, do you have any questions? If yes, please, whoops, this was the wrong one. Do you have any questions or anything to mention? If not, I would like to launch a poll. You can just answer it, and then I will close it in some minutes. If you have any questions, just write it in the chat or in the FAQ, and we will answer it. Oh, this looks nice right now. Okay, half of you have already voted. Oh, it's an interesting result by now. Oh, really? Okay, I think I will close this poll in 30 seconds, or yeah, just let's wait some moments, and I think this will be okay. So I think 18 of 30 just voted. It's a very interesting result. I will share it right now. So basically, 39% of you already used the hybrid inverter, and 70% of you just with a PV inverter. So that's the usual thing. No experience and no plan to use energy storage systems. Okay, not yet, but use in the future. 56%. Oh, nice. Already 6%. So one of you already installed an ESS system from SolaX. That's very good. Other manufacturers. So it looks like that we have some experience in hybrid and battery systems. I can promise you that our system is really too easy to install. I hope you can see it right now when I show it in the next time, in the next part. But right now, I just would go to the SolaX PV inverters if there are any further questions. Okay, no questions. Nice. Okay, then I will proceed. The second part is the SolaX PV inverters. The first one, I would like to introduce our single-phase inverters. It's a grid-tied inverter, so that means these inverters only work as long as you have a grid connection. Like every other grid-tied inverter from every other producer, it is just working when it's connected to the grid. When the grid falls down, the PV system would go down too. But that's a usual thing, and that's pretty normal, I would say. It's just a safety thing because when the grid goes down and your inverter would still produce energy, it will go to the grid. And for example, when somebody is working on the grid, his life is in danger when your system is still feeding in energy in the grid. So those are our single-phase inverters. For example, our X1 Mini, it goes from 0.7 to 2.0 kilowatts. Then we have the X1 Air. It's the next bigger one, single phase inverter. It goes from 2.5 to 3.3 kilowatts. As you can see, it's the range. We can already build up every range you need, from really, really small to really, really big. Then we have the X1 Boost. That's the biggest single phase inverter in Germany, for example, because you are not allowed in Germany to have more than 4.6 kilowatts on one phase. The X1 Smart is not really interesting for us because, as far as I know, it is not sold in Europe. So we just can jump over it. I would like to show you this product in person. So just take a look. As you can, ja, ich muss hier die Kamera, ich muss ja meinen Bildschirm aufhören zu teilen. Ne? Ah, okay. As you can see, this one is the smallest inverter on the left. I just put my hand on it so you can see the measures, how small it is. And it's really, really, really light. So you can even pull it up with one hand. So you don't need a second person to install it. And it's really easy. So the next bigger one is the Boost. As you can see, it is a little bit bigger than the other one. It's a single phase inverter with 2 MPP trackers and a single phase output. And I go a little bit closer. Here you can connect the meter, so we can realize with our PV inverters a dynamic reduction or power limit or a static power limit. That means if you have some demand in your house, the power wouldn't be limited to 70% as long as you can use this energy by yourself. So then we have this upgrade interface. This is the AC interface. DRM is something like when the grid operator wants to cut down your system because it's delivering too much energy. Then we have here a Wi-Fi interface, which you can unscrew, and after this, behind this one is a USB stick, a USB interface, we just can plug in our Wi-Fi stick. The same thing is with the smaller one. You have here a Wi-Fi and alarm interface, which you can use for this. You can use for the Wi-Fi stick. This one is just alarm interface. Okay. So, and those are the single phase inverters. So, okay. Those were the single phase inverters, and as you can see, there are not so many interfaces, not so many plugs which you can confuse or anything, and they are all coded, so you can't do anything wrong. It's really easy. Then we have our 3-phase inverters. They are looking pretty similar, but they are a little bit bigger, or I would say even a lot bigger. And we have 2 kinds of them. Once we have the X3 MIG, this goes from 4 to 10 kilowatts and has only 2 MPP trackers. And the X3 Pro goes up to 15 kilowatts and have 3 MPP trackers, as you can see in the picture. And I would like to show you the X3 MIG, the usual. I like this one very much because it is good to handle it, even if it's a little bit heavier than the small ones. But I already installed those one by myself and without any help. And basically, one person is enough to install the system. If you look at this, you can see the difference between the how big they are. I mean, the X3 is almost twice as big as the Boost, but you have much more energy. So that's pretty usual, I would say. This is a normal MIG with 2 PV inputs. So you can just connect 2 different roof substrates and without any problem. So for example, east and west direction, you can put this one on or anything like this. Our DC on and off switch, like in every other inverter from us. Then we have here the meter interface. It is an RS485 protocol and working over an LJ45 plug. So this is a usual, I would say, a network cable you can use here. When you plug it in here, you just have to plug it in. There's nothing, no big deal. On the other side, which is going to the meter, you have to cut down the RJ45 plug and just connect different cables to the meter. In this case, it would be the pin 7 and 8. So it means brown and white are connected to the meter. And when you use the meter, it's like I already mentioned, it's a dynamic reduction, so you don't burn that much energy. In Germany, for example, you have to limit your system to 70% of the nominal power. And as soon as you produce more than 70% of the power, it will be cut down to 70%, and everything which is going over the 70% would be turned into heat. But the dynamic limitation, our system is checking the demand in the house. And when the system sees, okay, we are producing more than 70% or would put more than 70%, but notices that you have a demand in the house, the energy would go to your house and wouldn't be burned to heat just for nothing. So it's, in my opinion, the dynamic energy limitation is much more sensible or much more, it's much better solution than the static. But you have both opportunities with our inverters. Yeah, like this Wi-Fi inverter, the Wi-Fi interface. I think you can already assume that what we have a Wi-Fi interface, that we don't need an external data logger. So that means we have an integrated data logger, which is logging your data and sending it to our portal as soon as you create an account and connect the inverter to the portal. Yes, I would show you the portal later in the monitoring part. I will show you how to set up an account, but this will come later. So I hope everybody could see what I've shown. If you have any questions or if you want to see anything again, just tell me and I will show it to you again. And if you have any questions about this, just ask them and I will try to show you as good as I can. So, okay, those were the PV inverters, the string inverters, which are used, yeah, pretty common all over the world. Are there any questions? Okay. Let me take a look here. This is... Okay. If there are no further questions, okay, we have one question on MPP tracker. Could you explain what it is? Ah, sure. An MPP tracker is you have an input in your. I think I will show it. Basically, you have this input here, and there is a MPP is it's just looking for the best working spot on the curve. So this is an own, yeah, it's just looking for the most efficient point on the curve and tries to work on it. And that means if you have one MPP tracker, you can use a yield on the roof by its own. So on this one, this has two MPP trackers. You can connect two different rooftops to it. If it would be one, you just could put one direction of a rooftop to connect to the inverter. So the MPP tracker is basically it's looking for the best, yes, for most efficient working working point. I have the word in German, but I'm struggling right now to find it in English. I hope you understand it anyway. Basically, MPP tracker, you can connect a whole year to it. And if you have more MPP trackers, which are not connected to each other, you can use different rooftops and different directions or anything without interfering with the other one. So yeah, basically it's an input of the inverter. Okay, just let me take a look. If you connect RJ45, you can connect more than two together. No, this is a serial interface, so you just can connect one product to this interface. I had one time I had this the situation where a customer connected a Raspberry Pi and our meter to this interface, and one of them was every time not working because the interface didn't know which information is from which part and anything like that. So you can only use one device on this RJ45. So yeah, basically only our meter or on something what you need. You're welcome. So are there any other questions? Okay, he wants to switch to English. Very good. Adam. Okay, if there are no further questions, I think I will proceed. If you have any, if you like to. Okay, so now this is my favorite part. I can't explain to you why, but it's just my favorite part. The SolaX hybrid inverters, I like them really much because I like the technique and I like the development of those ones. And yeah, I think those are great products. And if I wouldn't think this, I wouldn't sell them. So it's a win-win for me. Interesting product and very good. So I have a good, yeah, so my conscience is very good. Okay, so we have the hybrid inverters. We have we have two different types. Like on the usual PV and string inverters, we have the single-phase hybrid inverter and the three-phase hybrid inverter. The single-phase hybrid inverter is a very reliable and very good system, which is, you know, if you install it correctly and no flash will hit the system, it will work. It will work. Just an anecdote. I think I have right now didn't change. Maybe one hybrid X1 hybrid inverter I have changed, but this was not inverter's fault. This was a misinstallation, so not really a product problem. Yeah, the X3 hybrid, this is pretty similar to the X1 hybrid. Just the difference with the power load and with the phases, obviously. So we have the X1 hybrid in the range from 3 kilowatt peaks, from 3 kilowatts to 4.6 kilowatts. This is depending again on the laws, because I don't know how it's in Hungary, but I think it's pretty similar, that you can't connect more than 4.6 kilowatts to one phase. It's just something about the phase imbalances in Germany. I'm sorry that I'm talking all the time about Germany, but this is the case that I know. And unfortunately, I don't really know about the cases in Hungary. But in Germany, it's like this: you are not allowed to unbalance the grid that much. So it's allowed to put maximum 4.6 kilowatts on one phase. The X3 hybrid inverters have none of these problems because they are three-phase inverters, and so they are connected to every phase in the house. And yeah, basically you could even connect a 40 kilowatt device to your house when it's three-phase, but in this case it's a maximum 10 kilowatt peaks, 10 kilowatts, and yes, it's a really interesting product. I think I will tell you more about this, but I would like to show you the X1 hybrid first. Just a little showing. The more detailed showing comes in the practical part. So this is a hybrid inverter, the X1 hybrid. It is really small. It's even smaller than our X3 MIG. And yeah, as I already told, they are not really heavy. They can lift it up and connect it to the wall by one person. And yeah, it's really easy to install. As you can see, I mean, I'm an electrician myself, but this is not that heavy and not that complicated. But I will tell you more about this in the practical part. I just wanted to show you the device, and as you can see, it's really good and really easy to build up. And basically, the X3 hybrid inverter looks the same as you can see in the pictures. It looks the same. It is the same. It's just bigger electronics in it, so it can handle a bigger power, and it's a little bit heavier. I would recommend to, if you install the X3 hybrid inverter, to do it with two guys, because it is really heavy, about 50 kilograms. But you have to see it like that. It's the whole inverter, there is no plastic. Everything is metal. So this is better for cooling, and it's better for the security. So for example, if you connect 20 kilowatt peaks to a 10 kilowatt inverter, which obviously is too much. But if this overpowering would destroy the inverter, nothing would happen on the outside because it's all safe in the metal box, like a black box, you can say. Yeah, any questions right now? Okay, I see what kind of brands are compatible. I would say almost every brand, because we have the option. First we have our own batteries, which are tailored for our system. They are especially for a system, made for a system, and they will work perfect with them. Then we had Pylon Tech. Some customers use it with Pylon Tech, and our old inverters were used with LG inverters, but that's not high voltage, so I wouldn't recommend that. The reason why I say you can connect almost every battery to it, because you have in the menu of our inverters, you just can decide if you have a lithium battery or a lead battery. And if you have a lead battery or a lithium battery, which is not compatible to our system, you just can type in the characteristics of the battery which you need to use, as for example, charging current, discharging current, lowest voltage, highest voltage, and things like that. So you just can set all your characteristics which you need for the battery, and it can work with it. I don't promise it to you that every battery will work with it. Officially, we are only working with our own batteries, but we have this option. And as I heard from my colleague Rudolf, he was last week at a system where the customer used pylon tech with our high voltage inverter. So it's not impossible, but we only guarantee the function with our own batteries. I hope. Okay. The communication with the batteries is. It's a good question. The connection is realized with a RJ45 plug, but to be honest, I don't know if it's RS45 or CAN bus. I would suspect this is CAN, but we don't give out the protocols for this because it's a creative property, and we think we won't share that like this. So basically, if you have BMS, that's the main difference. You can say if you have a battery with a BMS, you just have to put it on on lithium, and then it should work like that. And if you have no BMS and you have a lead battery, you just can put it on lead battery. Yeah. So that means you just need the lithium option only if you have a BMS. Yeah, but you can set up the levels by yourself. So the loading, charging, and the loading voltage and the discharging voltage, this you can configure yourself. That's absolutely great, I would say, and I hope I have the time later to show it to you. But I think, yeah, that's pretty easy, and I can show it definitely to you by the monitoring in the end. Okay, are there any further questions? Okay, so I will proceed if there are not any further questions, but you have the option to ask whenever you want, whatever you want. So that's absolutely fine. Okay, let's proceed. So the X1 hybrid inverter, HV is for high voltage. Yes, some kind of my thing. Okay. So this is a picture of the inverter which I showed you already on the live stream. It is IP65 rated. This means you can build it up on the outside. You can it can stand some rain, but I wouldn't put the water hose on it. So it's just a usual thing. When you put it under your roof on the outside, I think it will be fine. The EPS function, I think I didn't talk about that right now. The EPS function is, yeah, you have the option if the grid goes down to use your inverter as an off-grid inverter with the EPS output and the EPS function. I see there are two questions. C8 internal functions. Sure, I can show it to you later when the practical part. What battery capacities are on the portfolio and how can we scale them? That's a good question. Right now we have a portfolio 4.5 kilowatts, 5.8 and 6.3, and we are releasing a 3.0 battery. So we just can, scale more systems. And there is one special thing. With the X1 hybrid inverters, you can use them with one battery. But for the X3 hybrid inverters with a three-phase, you always need two batteries. This depends on the high voltage thing. We need this voltage from two batteries to get it started and run. Yeah, and so that means you can, with the X1 hybrid, you can have system from 3 kilowatt battery up to, I would say, 20 kilowatts. If it's I don't know if it really makes sense to connect 25 kilowatts battery to a 5 kilowatt inverter, but the possibility is there. So you just basically you can go up from 3 kilowatt battery up to 25 with one inverter, and if you use the master slave option and the X3 inverters, you can even go up to 250 kilowatts of battery capacity. So this it's really dynamic, I would say it like that. But the smallest battery is really 3.0 or respectively 4.5 kilowatts. I'm interested in the function descriptions, not necessary to see during operation. Okay. My colleagues will proceed with the questions. Okay, so we have a 6,000 watt charger. That means you have a charging and discharging power of about 6,000 watts. That's really nice thing. That means you can get 6,000 watts from your battery out if you need them in the evening. Remote monitoring, remote upgrade. That is a great thing. Like I already mentioned, we have the Wi-Fi and the integrated data logger. With this, you can just log your data, log your production, and send it to our portal and look it up all over the world. Plus, we have the option when you set up the portal that we can remotely upgrade it, remotely maintain it, and remotely maybe even repair it if it's necessary, but only on the software side. So if you have any questions, any problems, or anything like that, it is always recommended to put the system online so we can help you instantly. This makes it a lot easier for you and for us, and I think it would help us to save some money for you and for us, because you don't have to go out to the customer again, and we can do it from the far. So I always recommend to connect the inverter to our portal. So some other facts: max efficiency about 97.8%. That's pretty good. Natural cooling and low noise. That means there is no fan built in the inverter. As you can see, you have on the back, you have a really big metal body. And this metal body is cooling down the inverter passively, you can say. So you have no disturbing noises or no anything which makes it uncomfortable for you to have it in your house. You have the option to charge the battery from solar power or from AC power. That means you can charge the battery from your usual PV system. But if our meter recognizes some overproduction, for example, from a windmill or a heating power station, it will also charge the battery from this power, because everything which goes out of the system is compared with a demand in the house, and if the demand is already when the demand is already supplied, and you have still more energy than you need, it would be put in the battery first. And if your demand is supplied, if the battery is supplied, and you still have overproduction, then it goes to the grid. When the grid falls down, or when the grid goes out, the system will switch automatically to the EPS mode, but only if you connected it to the EPS mode. We have two interfaces, one for grid, one for EPS, and you can choose if you connect the EPS mode or not. That's on you. But if the customer wants an EPS, you can just use it. It's really easy. I will show it in some minutes. Online monitoring in remote settings is what I already mentioned, is that we can help you from afar as long as the system is, as long as the system is online. And we can even upgrade it from the far. So that means if you need a firmware upgrade or anything like that, or just call us and we can handle it. That's absolutely no problem. But it has to be online. That's the only thing. Then maybe it's interesting more for Spain or for old systems. You have a zero export control with SolaX. So you can set the export control to 0 watts. That means the inverter is checking the demand all the time. And only if the inverter is recognizing some demand in the house, he gives out some energy. As long as there is no recognition of demand, there would be no energy put out. So that means 0 export to the grid. You can customize your push notifications in our portal. So it's basically just an alarm for you. If, for example, the inverter doesn't produce any energy or anything like that. To be honest, I didn't use it right now because it's nice to have it, but I don't need it right now. So yeah. Okay. Are there any questions to the X1 hybrid? Klar. Du kannst mich fragen. Okay. Okay, is there no further questions? Because I mean, my colleague Rudolf is managing the questions in the chat. Yes. If there are no further questions, I would proceed. This is our X3 hybrid inverter. As you can see, it's pretty similar. It's just a little bit bigger because of the bigger power, obviously. And it's IP65 rated too, so you can build up on the outside too, like the X1 hybrid inverter. Remote monitoring is the same like every other product. We can remotely upgrade it, remotely maintain it, or anything like that. So that's a usual product thing from us. What I really like is the 3-phase unbalanced output mode. But I think I will explain this one in the next picture because it will show it to you a little bit better. So off-grid parallel support. This means, this is what I already mentioned. You can use these inverters, our hybrid inverters, as grid type inverters or as off-grid inverters, because they have both of the interfaces, grid and EPS. And it depends on what your customer wants, and you can realize both options with one inverter. So maximum efficiency is about 97.8%, like the other one. Natural cooling, low noise. Just like the X1 hybrid, there is no fan built in. It's all passive cooling by the metal body on the back. Charging from solar and AC power. Even the same thing. Also the same thing with the X1 hybrid inverter. As long as the system recognizes some overpower or some overproduction, it will put it to the battery. Automatic switch to EPS mode when grid is down. This is yeah, what I meant with the off-grid thing. You can use it as a backup mode system. Like you have when the grid is up, you can use just the usual PV system, and when the grid goes down, you have this backup EPS mode, or you can use it as a complete off-grid system when you just use the EPS mode. So this is the thing what I really like about this product, because they are both in one. They are a off-grid inverter and a on-grid inverter, the same thing. So you don't need necessarily a grid to build up the system. So if you are, for example, in Africa, or you have some, I don't know the English word, but the Russian word is dacha. If you have a little garden, somewhere in the woods, and there is no connection to the grid, you can use this inverter to power your little garden house. Yeah. it's a nice thing. So you have one product, but you have a wide range of usage for it. Support unbalanced and balanced three-phase mode. That's what I said. I will explain in the next picture because I think it's a little bit more clear with pictures. You have the opportunity to use the X3 hybrid inverter in master-slave mode. That means you can have a cluster of 10 inverters. This means you can have a roof power of about 100 kilowatt peaks. And to each of these inverters, you can connect 4 batteries. 4 batteries with maximum 6.3 kilowatt peaks. So that means you have almost 25 kilowatts of battery capacity, which you can use, which you can connect to every inverter. So you just can make the math. So if you have 10 inverters with 100 kilowatt peaks of a rooftop and 25 kilowatts of battery capacity, so you have in the end 100 kilowatts roof energy and 250 kilowatts of battery. So if you combine it like that, you can build up a really, really, really big system. Like I already said, with the house in the woods, you can have a non-grid solution and yeah, use it as a off-grid inverter too. The zero export control is the same like on the X1 hybrid inverter, so you can just reduce the export energy to 0%. So it would only give out energy if there is some demand in the house. Are there any questions so far about the X3 hybrid inverter? Yes, the EPS box, usually Rudolf is, but I just raised a question. The EPS box I will show you in the practical part later on with the demonstration on anything like that. I think this, yeah, I will show the EPS box in the end, definitely. Okay, so let's go on. This is a picture what I wanted to show you and when I wanted to, where I wanted to explain the balanced and the unbalanced mode. So first you can see, this is in this picture, they are shown 2 things. One, there's the clusters, the master-slave mode. As you can see, the inverter on the right is the master and connected via CAN to the slave. And you have the opportunity to do a system up to 10 inverters. And you always go from CAN 2 to CAN 1. So master goes, in master, you have the CAN 2 interface, and you go to CAN 1 interface in the second inverter. But I can show you this on the X1 hybrid inverter because the interfaces are the same. Yeah, what I really wanted to show you is this thing with the balanced and unbalanced mode. So imagine that your inverter is producing 10 kilowatts in the moment. And if you have the balanced mode, it would put 3 kilowatts on every phase out. So it's the balanced mode. So it splits the whole energy in the same parts and put it out. When you have the unbalanced mode, this is my favorite mode, by the way, you can just put out on every phase what is needed. So if you need 6 kilowatts on the first phase, 1 kilowatt on the second phase, and 2 on the third phase, the inverter will put out exactly what you need. So the big plus of this is when you have, for example, in balanced mode, and you have always the same amount of energy, but you need, for example, 5 kilowatts on one phase, but you can only give out 3, so you have to buy 2 kilowatts from the grid, for example, when you're cooking. But if you have this unbalanced mode, it can provide every demand which is needed, and you don't have to buy any energy from the grid. as long as the system is big enough to supply it to your house. Are there any questions about this? Very good. There's one surface. Machst du? Okay. Yeah, Rudolf will answer to you, but basically it's possible what you ask with a few kilowatts and 2 kilowatts, so it's absolutely no problem. Okay, I will go on right now to the next chart. This is I would say an easy drawing of the EPS system with the batteries. As you can see, we have the EPS box, which is, yeah, it is a safety thing, you can say, because it, as soon as it recognizes that the grid is down, it will switch from grid-tied inverter to island inverter, so to off-grid inverter, so you can use your energy in the house, and no energy is put out on the grid. That's I think that is the most important thing, because you need this EPS box if you want to use your EPS mode. Because, for example, the grid goes down and the grid doesn't go down for no reason. Maybe somebody is working on the grid, or somebody is just maintaining something, and when the grid goes down and your inverter is still feeding in the energy, yeah, it's really dangerous for the one who's working there. So basically, it's a safety thing, and yeah, you can. This is yeah, you can say it's a switch. It's a switch between grid and off grid, but it does it automatically, and it does it really fast. But I will show it to you in the practical part, because I built it up last week, and yes, it's pretty impressive, I would say. So AC coupled inverters. This is just yeah, our AC inverters. The X1 AC is yeah, it's an AC inverter. The X1 Fit and the X3 Fit are almost the same product like the hybrid inverters, but you use them to add our batteries in a system which is already existing. With the system is already existing. It's not necessary. So you could have an SMA system, you can have a Costal system, you can have a SolaX system. That's absolutely doesn't matter what you have. When you want our batteries, you can use it with a hybrid inverter. Sorry, with a retrofit inverter. The function is like this: you have the same product as same function like on an X3 hybrid, but you have no PV input. So everything is on the AC side. But the function is the same. As soon as the system recognizes some overproduction on the AC side, the battery will be charged. And if it recognizes some demand, the battery will discharge. Yeah, basically it is the same like the hybrid inverters, but without any PV inputs. And this nice thing is you can use it with every existing system. Maybe something to add more is that the hybrid inverters can be combined with already existing systems. So if you have already built up a PV system on the roof and you just want to make it bigger and you use it with our batteries and our inverter, your old system can be used to charge the new batteries, because everything is going over the AC production and demand thing. Yes. Yeah, the X1 and X3 retrofit are the ones which I was talking about. Basically, they have the Skills, I would like to say, it's AP65 rated, and it's AP65 rated. You have the remote monitoring. It's a battery solution to add some batteries to already existing systems, high efficiency. I pushed the wrong button. Sorry about that. Natural cooling, because there is no fan built in as well. You can integrate to every existing PV systems, like I already mentioned. Absolutely doesn't matter what kind of PV system you have, because we do not connect it to the old one. We just do it all over the production. As you can see, we have a wide range of products, and yeah, we can use them really good. One thing I would like to mention is that we have the development of the software, the hardware, the circuit boards, and the batteries are all in-house. So we're developing and producing all the things by ourselves. So we are really dynamic. So if you need some help or anything like that, or if you have any suggestions, just tell it to us, and we will look if we can do it like this. For example, our update rate is very high because not because the system is not working, just because we are adding constantly new countries to our systems. So if you have bought an inverter from us, it is possible that after 1 year you can already upgrade with, I think, 2 or 3 further versions. But there's nothing with the function. It's just yeah, extended with the markets. But what I wanted to say is we are really quick with this. And when we launched the X3 hybrid inverters, it was a little bit more complicated because the interfaces were all on the inside of the inverter. So people had to go to unscrew the cover and go in with the hands and put on the plugs in it. The installers told us that this is not very good, or not really fast, or not really comfortable. And we changed the whole thing. So we put the interfaces on the outside of the inverter, so it's easier for you to install. That means the less time you need to build up the system, the bigger is your margin and the more fun you have to work with our products. And that's basically our goal. Are there any questions about the retrofit inverters? Voll die guten Fragen. I like your questions a lot. They're really good, and yeah, they're bringing us further. Okay, so I would like to proceed if there are no special questions about this one. This is our battery solution, or our battery storage system, the triple power battery. And the triple power battery can be used with the X1 hybrid inverter and the X3 hybrid inverter. If it's 1 or 3 phase, depends just on the inverter which you need, which you use. So we have the Gen 2. This was the battery with the 4.5 capacity and 6.3. You have there the battery, and on the top of the battery you have the BMS. And this is really flexible systems because you can buy 10 slave batteries and have to buy 1 BMS, and you can put the BMS on every battery which you need. But you have to be careful that you put it on the right battery, on the correct battery, because if you put it on the middle of the battery or anything like that, it wouldn't work. It has always to be the master on the master battery, so the first battery which is connected to the inverter. So the new generation is yeah, 5.8 kilowatts. And as you can see, there is no removable BMS. So in this generation, we have already a defined master and a defined slate. It doesn't change anything. The capacity and the quality is the same. It is just easier to install because you don't have to worry about where do I put the BMS on it. So, what do we have here? Okay. And we are launching 3 kilowatts soon. Yeah, just to make a better scaling for the systems. Because as you can see, like I already mentioned, with X3 hybrid inverters, you need always 2 batteries. So that means with the smallest battery capacity you would have already 9 kilowatts. And with a new battery with 3 kilowatts, sorry about that, you can have a 6 kilowatt battery, which is for many customers not the best solution, but the solution which they wish. And as you know, the customer is king, and even if the solution is not the best for him, if he prefers it, he can get whatever he wants. Okay, yeah, benefits of the storage system is it's a high voltage system, so there are less energy loss by converting and anything like that. One-stop solution is what I mentioned with every product is made by ourselves. So if you have any problems, either with the battery or the inverter or anything like that, you just can call us. You don't have to talk to 10 different producers or anything like that. Just call us and we can solve the problem. The full range variable scenarios is what I already mentioned, is that we have different capacities and different inverters in the power range, so you can almost realize every system you like. For example, when the customer doesn't want to have 6 kilowatts of battery, he can use a X1 hybrid inverter with 3 kilowatts because the X1 hybrid only needs 1 battery. So we have protect against power outages. That means the power degeneration is not really necessary in this part. You can just overview it. So the degeneration of the energy is really slow, almost not there, you can say. But it is there. I would lie if I would say it's not there, but it's so small that you even almost don't recognize it. Yeah, parallel function, both on and off grid is what I already mentioned before. You can use them as grid-tied inverters or as F-grid inverters. You just have to decide which you put off, or you can even use it both. I mean, when you connect the EPS output and the usual grid output, you just have a combined system of this thing. And when you use it with the EPS box, everything is fine. So you have a backup system, which is basically an off-grid system as long as the grid is down. The 3-phase unbalanced output is, I explained already with a picture with the inverter. Sure, if the inverter can do it, the 3-phase unbalanced output, and the battery is connected to the inverter, so it's obvious that the battery can put out the inverter is the master of the battery and puts out what the inverter demands. Yeah, you have the real-time intelligent monitoring. This is, you can see in our portal what you're producing and what you are using yourself. And the nice thing is you can do it all over the world, because as soon as you connect your PV system to the portal, you can. Yeah, you have the control over your PV system all over the world. For example, you're going on vacation to Ukraine or Romania or to Poland or whatever, and you want to know what your PV system is doing, you can just look it up on your portal online. And you can even, this is a special thing, not only we can remote set your system. When you log in with your login data, you can shut down the inverter over remote control. You can start it up. You can change the charging. Basically, you can change everything as long as you have the password. Yeah. The remote upgrade is an exclusive function for the SolaX engineers or service engineers like me and Rudolf. And if you have any problems or you want to, sometimes you need to have the same firmware on every device. So for example, when you have new firmware on the inverter and you bought the battery, which is already maybe 1 year in stock for one reason, I don't know why, you have to update the battery. But you just can connect it to the grid, connect it to the internet, and call us and say we need an update for this thing, and we can do it over remote. So only thing you have to do is, okay, only thing is a little bit, is not the right word, but the thing where you have to do is connect with the internet and build it up physically. And if you build it up physically and connect it to the web, everything else we can do it for you. So there is no need for you to go out to the customer or anything like that, as long as it is a software thing. So let's go to the next chart. High voltage system. Yeah, compared to a traditional low voltage system, there is you have a better efficiency and a smaller energy loss because you don't have to convert it from 400 volts, for example, from the PV system to 48 volts in the low voltage system. And the other thing is, compared to older systems where you had a PV inverter and a battery inverter, you have less energy loss again because the DC power is stored in the battery directly. So there is no conversion between storing and the only time when it converts the energy is when it puts it out to AC. But this is a usual conversion loss which you have when you have a usual PV grid thing. So that's the same thing. So you have only one conversion loss in going to AC. Okay. So the one-stop solution. I think I can't say it enough or often enough. As you can see, the circle, everything is made by ourselves. So we are developing our stuff. We are building up our stuff. We are repairing our products, and we are in the whole circle. We do everything. So you can be sure if you have one product of us, it will be taken care of us and not any other person who is not really firm with this, because we have all the things in house. For example, I think we are the only one or one of a very, very few who are developing the circuit boards themselves. There are not them that much, and we're producing them ourselves. So this is a real big plus because we have a big flexibility and we are very dynamic with this. So we are not depending on anyone because everything is in our hands. So for example, if you need 50,000 inverters at one point and you say, please deliver it to me, we can rise up the production and deliver them to you because we have everything in-house. We don't have to wait on anybody or anything like that. So I would like to proceed, if you like to. So this is just to show you the range of our variable scenarios, which you can use, what you can use in the different systems. So we have the X1 hybrid. You can use it with one battery for small systems, up to 5 kilowatts. on the roof. Then we have the X1 hybrid. This can be used up to 10 kilowatts. And one roof is 2 batteries, but you can connect it to a system, to a cluster of 10 inverters with 100 kilowatts and 250 kilowatts of battery capacity. Then we have the X1 retrofit. This is basically to add some batteries to an old system. And I think that makes really sense, because if the energy price is still rising, and I think it will rise, it will definitely make sense to add some batteries to old systems. That's the situation which you can see in Germany. The old systems are now that there are some batteries added, because now it makes sense. X3 retrofit is the same thing like the X1, and the X1 Boost or X1 Mini. Those are small inverters. For example, we sell a lot of those really small inverters with the 0.7 range, because in Germany you can build up a system with three PV panels and don't have to pay the EEG or anything like that. So it's just called a guerrilla system. That's why we're selling a lot of them. And to be honest, we sold, I think, 6,000 or 7,000 this year in Germany, and we have not one service case. And I think a service rate of 0% for one product is pretty impressive. I, for my part, I'm really impressed by it. So, okay, let's go on. This is the parallel function. Basically, it's the same which I already explained to you with drawing. But here you can see an example how it's built up. So you have here three X3 hybrid inverters, and 2 batteries each are connected to one of them inverters. So you can see you have 2 batteries with a BMS on the top. Those are the masters, and 2 slave batteries. That means you have, you can have, in this picture, it could be that there are 12.6 kilowatts capacity of the battery are connected to each inverter. So yeah, you can have a cluster or anything like this. The upside from this is when you have the master slave mode, the master is controlling the charging and discharging from all the other inverters and batteries, and you just need one energy meter. I will show it to you too. This one is our energy meter. It's the Eastron SDM 630. It's a Modbus meter, but please don't tell anybody, this is a secret. You can use the Carlo Gavazzi EM24 too. But this one is which we deliver with it. And yeah, it has a wide range of functions, and you can do a lot with it. Maybe I will show it to you when we go to the practical part. So, okay. 3-phase balanced and unbalanced output. Basically, here you can see what I told you in words with pictures. So as you can see, the balanced mode is always the same amount of energy on every phase, and yeah, it's just a balanced mode. On the unbalanced mode, you have exactly what you need on every phase, and you don't have to buy anything if you have a demand on one phase which is bigger than you got than you deliver right now. Okay. So this is a nice thing. So it could, or not could, it will raise up the self-consumption. Are there any questions about this? Da ist noch eine DOD-Frage. Okay, Let's go on. My colleague Rudolf is taking care of you. Battery capacity from 4.5 to 46 kilowatts is just the combination. You can just combine more batteries to each other, then you have a bigger capacity. And the nice thing about the batteries is if you have an old battery and if you have one battery from us and you decide 2 or 3 years later to add another battery, this is absolutely no problem, because the first battery will not affect the second battery, because they are all just let through the BMS. And so that means only thing you need is maybe a software update, so both of the batteries are on the same software version, and anything else is not necessary. So you don't have to look for the degeneration for the batteries. There's absolutely no problem. So you can add batteries whenever you want, basically. Yes, I would like to do a short break before the practical part, but I won't let you go right now because the theoretical part is still on. So real-time monitoring, I would recommend that we just jump over the real-time monitoring, because I wanted to show you in the practical part how to set up a monitoring system, how you can read the system, and how you can interpret this information. I think this is much more interesting than some of these pictures about the monitoring system. So I will share my screen later and show you exactly how you set up a system, what you need to do, and how you can access the system. I think this makes more sense than talking about pictures right now. Yeah, as I already mentioned, our inverters are IP65 rated, so you can build it on the outside, like you see under a roof, for example. The batteries are IP55. I would always recommend to build it in to build them up inside. If the customer wants to build them on the outside, you just need to build a housing around them and make sure that the temperature doesn't fall under 10 degrees Celsius. I think it was on 0. Oder? Temperatur darf nicht unter 10 oder unter 0 Grad fallen. Batterien. Ich meine 0. Okay. Yeah, it's about the, so you have to make sure that the temperature is not going lower than 0 degrees Celsius. But as you can imagine, the battery will be not that dynamic anymore when it's really cold. So I recommend a temperature about 10 degrees Celsius. But it still works. It's not a problem. It's not just as fast. So yeah. But basically, I recommend to build in the house battery. It's always a better solution. And now here are our contact numbers from the different countries. I would say you should take the German one, because UK is more or less administrative right now. And Netherlands are really, really busy with the Benelux. Not that we are not busy, but you can call us anytime if you need anything. I would like to make a small break and launch a poll in this break. I would say, yeah, about 15 minutes to 10:50, we will meet again. So I will launch the poll right now, and you can just answer it. And you can just kind of answer. Welcome back, everybody. So the results are there, and Yes, it looks really good. I mean, all of those things we can offer. That's not a problem. Technical support for design, commissioning, troubleshooting, support you will get every time when you call us. It's absolutely no problem. Design, we have an own calculator, which is a SolaX calculator. Yeah, there you can calculate the systems, but I would recommend for the design always to look at the data sheets and to check it. Don't rely too much on this configuration tool. Maybe I'm not that maybe I have a trust issue with this, but I check every design which I made with a configurator. I check it by myself with the data sheets. Hands-on training on real system certificates. We are preparing certificates. Hands-on training on real system is basically no problem. We are doing it here in Germany, for example, and I was before COVID-19 breakout, or before the borders are closed, I was in Hungary also. So if there's any wish to see to have a practical training on site, we can realize this. I would always prefer when we have a bigger group where we can do the training. So it's, yeah, makes more sense for me, because only for one person to go to Hungary, you can understand it's pretty expensive. So I would like to combine it with a bigger training where we can train more installers. But basically, that's a good idea, and we can do it. It's absolutely no problem. Marketing material, yeah, we can provide you with data sheets and brochures, and yeah, we have some things like pens and USB sticks or bags or anything other. We have some merchandise, SolaX merchandise, which you can give out. So every 3 of these points, we can help you with them. Yeah, that's absolutely no problem. We would love to help you with them, because if you are successful, that means we are successful too. So this is a partnership in the end, and yeah, we have to help each other and support each other. I would like to close the poll. I think everybody has saw it, and so I can just close and proceed with the technical training or the practical part. So, okay. Hast du gerade die Resultate gesehen? Ja? Okay, ich war mir nicht sicher, ob ich die freigegeben hatte. Da fragt einer nach der Lebenszeit der Batterien. So, if everybody is there, I would like to start with the practical part. Or do you have any questions? Okay. I think I will start with the camera. If you can't see anything properly, just write it in the chat, and my colleague Rudolf will advise me and tell me what you need and what is wrong. So, but I will try to make it as best as possible, so you can see everything what I wanted to show you. Okay, so first on the overview, you have there the inverter. Then there are the batteries, 2 of them, master and slave. And there is the EPS device, which I built up and which I will demonstrate you how it works. I would say let's start with the inverter. So this is X1 hybrid inverter, which I already showed to you. Just have to look if I'm showing what I need to show. Okay, so here you have the PV inputs, 2 of them. So you have 2 MPP trackers. Here is the battery out and input. It's a bidirectional interface because it's loading as charging and discharging over this one. Those are MC4 compatible ones, and those are Phoenix contact connectors where you don't need any tools for it. So you just can clamp it and put it in. I hope you can see it right now. Yeah. Then you have here is EPS port. So you have here is EPS interface with one phase. So you have here the phase, here's neutral connection, and here's the PE. You can, in the EPS, you can connect everything to the clamp. The grid clamp is a little bit different. There you have just the phase and the neutral cable, and the PE has to be put on the back of the inverter to the chassis. So there is no danger of touching, and no danger of getting electrical shock by touching it. Here you can see this is our clamp for the meter. As you can see, it has some more pins, but we only use pin 1 and 2. The other pins are not needed. Then we have the interfaces CAN 1, CAN 2, LAN, DRM, and BMS. BMS is a connection to the battery, to the master battery. DRM is just some power reduction, which is, I think, not necessary to you. But for example, in Germany, when you have a PV system which is bigger than 30 kilowatt peaks, you have to give your grid operator you have to allow to reduce the power by a grid operator, so you can shut down your system. But I think this is not that important at this power range. So it's really important about 30 kilowatt peaks on the roof, and only in Germany, as far as I know. LAN interface is an integrated LAN interface which you can use to connect the inverter via LAN to the router and to connect it with our portal. So you can use either the LAN interface or the Wi-Fi stick. But this is only on the hybrid inverters. The usual PV inverters, for example, have only the Wi-Fi stick interface. They have no LAN interface. So basically, for the usual PV inverters, you need always the Wi-Fi stick or the pocket LAN stick to connect to the internet. And with the hybrid inverters, you have a built-in LAN interface, so this is optional. As you can see, it's just not that much to connect on the inside. So you have here the grid, EPS, meter, and BMS. That's basically everything. And as I mentioned, you can use the X3 hybrid inverters in master-slave mode. That means it would be CAN 1 and CAN 2. They are here built in because it would be much more expensive to build a new circuit board. So we just took out some functions, that's everything. But in the X3 hybrid inverter, you connect these inverters via CAN 2 to CAN 1, CAN 2 to CAN 1, and so on. And you have to define the X3 hybrid inverters as the master. There is some little dip switch between those interfaces, which you have to remove the plate, remove it, and behind this is a dip switch. As you can see, I hope you can see it. I just removed the BMS part. As you can see, you have here a connection scheme, so you can see how you have to connect the meter to this interface. As you can see, meter 1, also meter A goes on 1, and meter B goes on 2. It's pretty easy, and yeah, that's basically everything. So, and then you just connect this meter to the meter itself. Okay, could you see everything, or was it a little bit? Okay, fine, very good. Then I will proceed to the batteries. As you can see, we have here the power cables to the batteries and the BMS, that means the data connection, and it goes in this part here. So you see, we have 3 connectors, and yeah, I mean, you can't do anything wrong except of maybe confusing battery plus and minus, but this is not that bad because the battery will just say to you it's connected wrong. Nothing will be broken, nothing will be damaged by this, but you have to change the things. But as soon as you make something wrong, the system is always telling you what is wrong, and you just need to listen to it. We have on the master battery 2 power switches, the main switch and the power on switch. So you have to switch this on and this on to make it run. As you can see, we have the option to connect more batteries to one cluster. If you have one battery, you don't have to change anything. But if you have more than one battery, you have to tell the system that there are more than one batteries and that it can load it properly. So in this case, we have built in a dip switch. I hope you can see it right now. There it is. And as you can see, it's showing on 1. This is the reason because we have connected 2 batteries to this. And the system is like this. So if you have only 1 battery like this, the dip switch would be on 0. And if you add another battery, it means +1. So you put the dip switch on the 1, and so on. It is important because if you don't change this dip switch or don't set the dip switch on the amount of batteries you have, it won't work properly because it doesn't know how much capacity is connected to it. And yeah, this is really important. And but I will show it to you later what happens when you make it when this is not set. So basically, the connection from battery to battery is the same like from battery to inverter. You have 2 power cables and 1 BMS cable. This goes to the slave, and there you can connect it. As you can see, it's not complicated. You have not that much different things, and you can confuse them basically. So it's really easy to build up system. So, and on the back of the last battery, doesn't matter if it's 2, 3, 1, or 4 batteries, you have to connect the you have to close the circuit with this one. If you don't close the circuit, it won't work. As you know, as an electrician, not closed circuit is not giving out energy or anything like that. So you just have to close it with this one, and then it will work. So now I will go to the EPS box. I'm just showing to you some of the products, and after that we will go deeper in the details. So you have this EPS box, which is connected to the grid and connected to the inverter. So what it does is it checks all the time if the grid is available. As soon as it recognizes that there is no grid available here, it just switches off to the off-grid thing, and so no grid connections there anymore. So this is a really, really fast thing, and I will show it to you how fast it goes when I will demonstrate it. But as you can see, this one is already pre-connected when you get it. So you just have to connect those, and those. So this is a grid, the phase, neutral light, neutral phase, here phase, neutral connector. And on the downside of this, you have to connect the load. So what you want to what you want to power from with the EPS system. You can build up an extra circuit for the things you want to power on, like servers or PCs or anything like that, which has to run all the time. Or you can connect it the whole house to this, but you have to know that we have a maximum output of 14.5 amps on 6,000 kilowatts. So if you have a demand which is bigger than 14.5 amps, which is really high, by the way, then the inverter will shut down for safety reasons. So there's nothing which will break or will be damaged. It will just shut down. Okay, and so we can know, or so the whole system knows about the demand and the production. There is this meter. In this case, it is a one-phase meter because we have a one-phase system. It's not really different to the one with the three phases. The connectors are just a little bit different. So you connect, for example, in the one-phase meter, you connect it on the downside, 5 and 6. And wait a moment, I'll show you in comparison to the three-phase meter. So this is the three-phase meter. This is one-phase meter, and as you can see, yeah, it's not that different except the three-phase and one-phase. Yeah, you go in, you go out, you go in, you go out. Here with the neutral part. Yeah, on the three-phase, you go in on the top and go out on the downside. Yeah, but it's everything in the documentation, and it's yeah, really easy for me, maybe because I do it every day. But if you have any questions about this, don't hesitate to contact us, and we will help you anyway. So the system is running. But as you can see, there are not so many components. There are not so many, not so much AI used in this. So there is not so much which can break or make the system laggy or anything like that. It just works. I would like to demonstrate it to you. For example, I just put on the inverter and the AC power. So as you can see, the meter starts and starts working. So you can see this here. As you can see, the lamp now is burning and showing that we're producing energy, but this one is from the grid now, we have to say, because the inverter is still starting up. I will start up the battery right now. So like I told you, first this one, and then this one, and then the battery runs up. So here we have to turn it on, surely, and then wait for 60 seconds. This is the self-test. And yeah, when 60 seconds are running through and the self-test was successful, the system will start without any problem. Now I'm looking. Okay, my failure. I forget to start the PV. So okay, now it should start. As you can see, when I start the PV, the self-checking started immediately, and yeah, 60 seconds for self-test, and it does it every time when you start it, because it's checking if everything is okay, and that's a really good thing, because you have no unknown things which can appear. So before I'll try to say it another way. It does a self-check, and if the self-check fails, it doesn't start, so nothing else can be damaged. Let me see. Kann man das Display richtig sehen, oder spiegelt das wieder so? I hope you can see it right now a little bit better. Okay, so you see it starts starting up, battery is there and it is recognized and connected, and we have a grid connection. So I would like to show you or demonstrate you the EPS mode first. I think I have to. I think that would be okay if I put it here. Yeah. So as you can see, when I will simulate now a downfall of the grid by just turning off the grid. Just look at the lamp, and you will see when it jumps over to the EPS mode. And it's running again. So as you can see, it takes less than a second to switch from grid tied mode to off-grid mode. It's a really nice thing. And yeah, if you turn it on again, you have the same effect. It goes over to the grid mode, and everything is on an out thing. So you have almost no time loss. So if the energy, if the grid goes down, it doesn't take even a second. So you have no break in energy production. Okay, so let's take a look at the battery. It is charging right now. Right. As you can see, when I started and restarted the AC grid, the inverter does a self-check again, because every time he needs to check if everything is okay, as soon as some energy supplier is connected to it. Doesn't matter if it's PV or AC grid, it does a self-test anyway. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go, and it's working. So I just wanted to show you what happens when you have the wrong address. So for example, we have here the battery. I just shut it down to change the address because I don't want to damage anything. So first this one, and then the main switch. It takes a little bit to shut it completely down because the energy is still there. Don't worry about the flashing LEDs. This is not a problem. So because the power comes from the battery anyway, and I hope you could see it because it was really far away. I changed the address from 1 to 0. So I just tell the system that there is only one battery connected. Now start it. And as soon as it runs up, it will tell me that something is wrong. As you can see, BMS internal error is shown. And I hope you can hear it too. The battery is, I wouldn't say crying, but the battery is complaining about the wrong settings. So basically you can see everything what's wrong with it by looking at the system. So I will correct it again to 1, shut it on again, and you should see how it works. So it has to start up right now. Takes a while, or it takes a minute or some seconds. So as you heard the clicking, and now it should start. And as you can see, the failure mode is not there anymore. And yeah, so everything is fine. The same thing will happen when you connect the meter, when you don't connect the meter, or when you just confuse the pins with each other. It will say you immediately wrong or not wrong. It will say immediately CT failure. And then you can look that up. Basically, it's when you have the CT failure, it's always even either it's the connection is not properly done or the pins are switched. But it's really easy to solve this problem. So yeah, then we have our Wi-Fi stick. I will go on to this later when I will show you the monitoring thing. Yes, basically it is all. I mean, as you can see, you have the PV input, you have the battery, grid, EPS, grid, BMS, and meter. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cables which you have to connect with it, and that's not really a hard task, I would say. Okay. Yeah, as you can see, we have here. I built it up, but this is not necessary right now. So let's take a look at the battery again. You can see the charging status. So you see exactly where the battery is without looking on the inverter. I mean, this is not really exactly, because the inverter says it's about 66%, but it's charging, so you know it's going up. So you have you know what your battery is doing by taking a look at it. Okay, I think I will. I have to unmirror this so you can read it. Okay. You have the opportunity to make the settings you need on the display itself. You can see them. This is too. I think this is. Yeah. Okay. So you have the status, which you can look up. This basically says you what's going on in the system. So you have the grid values. It's about 230 volts and 0.7 amps. Yeah, this basically says you what's up with the grid. Then you have the same thing for solar, and you can see, okay, we have 400 volts, 1.1 amps. So we have 430 watts, which are going in. And the same thing you can look for up for the second string. This one is not connected right now, so you have no value there. Then you can look up the status of the charger. It's basically the same. Also you can. It's just this status thing. You can check everything if it's running correctly by looking at the status. And as you can see, by the charger status, you can see if the BMS is connected. This is a really good point, because if you've connected the battery and everything's and something is not running and you don't know what, just look in the status and you will see if the BMS is connected or not. Usually when the BMS is not connected, it means that the cables between the battery and the inverter is not done properly. I will show it to you after this, what I mean with this. So this is just this status, and here is the status 2. And you can see minimum capacity is about 10%. Maximal charging, discharging is about 20 amps. EPS, this is just the same as the battery. Basically, it's saying you the status, it's telling you what the system is doing and what's opposite right now. So history, you can look up the inverter yield, the whole inverter yield, which you put to the grid to tell output anything. So this is basically, yeah, this is just some looking up some information, which you can't set anything. The interesting part is the settings. You have to go in there and type in, usually you have to type in a password. Maybe I have to do it in advance, right? Okay. Okay, in settings, you can set things like date, time, language, Ethernet, connection, and work mode. Maybe I can do it to English first. Okay, not what I wanted, but okay. Ethernet, For example, you can choose between static IP and DHCP. This depends on the network which your customer has, but you have the option to change it to static or dynamic. Work mode. Work mode is the most interesting in this part here, is because you can say to your system how it should work. Self-use, for example, is that you use as much as possible from your energy which you produce by yourself to save the money, because you don't have to buy anything from the grid. Then we have feeding in priority. That means everything you produce goes to the grid. Then we have the backup mode. This is where you can charge the battery by force, and this is the force time mode, where you can define some times where the battery is charged and discharged, no matter what the sun says. So advanced is the part which we need as an installer. When you go in, you need the password to 2014. So you give it, put it in like this. So to change the number, just put the enter button, and to choose the number, just use the arrow buttons. And when you have put it in, just do on the enter button again. So on-grid is the part of the settings where you just set everything which is related to the grid. So for example, safety. Safety says, showing you the norm which you have to do, which you have to set in your country. In Germany, for example, is ARN 4105 or VDE 4105. Then you have, for different countries, you have different settings, and you have to choose the right settings for you, because depending on what you're choosing here, the grid parameters will be changed. So, for example, when you choose the VDE 4105, the grid parameters will be like 230 volts, maximum frequency delay is about 5% or something like that. This is automatically set when you choose the right country settings. So power factor is just a mode where you can define the cosinus phi. This is not always needed. In Germany, for example, you only need it when an energy supplier demands it. Usually it's on 1, and you don't have to change it. Unfortunately, I don't know how it's in Hungary. Grid is what I told you. When you set the correct country settings, you should have the correct grid settings. So like here, VAC upper 264, VAC lower. So it can work with, I would say, with not really reliable grid operators, because the grid voltage or frequency is not always the same. It depends on how much or how good the infrastructure is. And yeah, if you have a bigger range on anything, the inverter will run through. But if the grid parameters go out of the range, the inverter will shut down because of safety reasons. So the next point is export control. This is our dynamic power limitation. With this option, you always need a meter, either the SDM230 or the SDM630. Depends on how many phases your system has. In this export control, you just type in 70%, for example, of the roof, of the power which is on the roof. For example, you have 10 kilowatt peaks on the roof, so you type in 7,000 watts, and the energy output to the grid will be limited to 7,000 watts. But if you have some demand in your house, the energy wouldn't be turned into heat. It would it would be used in the house, and the rest, also maximum 7,000, would go to the grid if you allow it. So that means the energy which you're overproducing is not turning into heat. You can use it by yourself. I always recommend this mode because we have a static mode too. We can just to put it to 70% or any percentage you like, and it's always cut down. No matter if you have any demand in your house or not, it's always cut down to 70%. So I definitely recommend export control dynamic limitation. Remote control is in this part not that important. Power limit is basically what I told you. Is power limit is the static limitation of the PV inverters. So if you put it to 0.7, it always be 70%, no matter how much what demand do you have. So okay, this was basically what you needed. Then we have the battery settings. There you can set a charger. And as I told you right now, theoretically, you can use every battery with our system, but we can't guarantee it. You can choose between lithium and lead acid. There is no company behind this because we are just making it, yeah, lithium or lead. What company built it up doesn't really. We don't really care about this, but we can always recommend to use our own batteries with this because we can't guarantee any third-party batteries are working fine. So just add the lithium, and then you can put in 10% your minimum capacity. Then you can change the maximum charge current, the maximum discharge current. Battery awaken is another part. With that minimum limit is another part. Let's take a look what happens when I put it on lead. So when you have a lead, you can just type in every characteristic you need. Charge absorption voltage, for example. Oh, no, I don't want this. I don't want this. No. Don't make me crazy. So basically, you can just do all the things you need for your lead battery, charge float voltage. So if you have the characteristics of your lead battery, you can just set everything you need. I know this part just appears because we have the lithium battery connected to the system, and I just put it to a lead, but I wanted to show you that you have the option to change everything and to connect the battery with your system. So I will change it to, come on, I will change it to lithium again, so it works properly. So, lithium, and everything is fine again. So that's basically what I meant with you can connect every battery to the system, but we won't guarantee that every battery is working with the system. I highly recommend to use our own batteries with this. Yes, this is the really easy practical part in my opinion. I would go on and show you now how you set up a system in the portal. If you have any questions about this, about the practical part, or if you want me to show anything else, just write it in the chat, because I know I do it every day, so for me it's pretty easy, but if you have any questions or didn't see anything right, please don't hesitate to contact us and ask for something. Okay. So if it's okay for everyone, okay, no. Das musst du beantworten. Yeah. If there are no further questions, I would like to switch to the monitoring system and how to set it up. Okay. Just let me set up this one. I just need a second tip. Okay. Okay, now I will share my screen with you. And yeah. Explorer, Godzilla, Firefox, Godzilla, Mozilla. Okay, so you should see right now my display. You can go to the SolaX Cloud via typing in the address, or I'm just doing it like this, SolaX Cloud. Then you have the SolaX Cloud monitoring. It's really important that you use the cloud for the X3 and X1 hybrid and mic and boost inverters, because the SolaX portal is only for older, or yeah, for older systems which are not produced anymore. So for all the device you buy, it is the SolaX Cloud, which is important. So now just let us pretend that I'm a customer and I create my own system. So let me change the language. I think I could put it to English. Huh? Come on. Doesn't like to. Okay, this is my tip English. Do we have Hungarian? But when I put in Hungarian, I can't read it anymore. I'm sorry about that, so I have to put it in English. Okay, so let's pretend we have I'm a customer and I want to set up my system, or I'm an installer and want to set up a system of a customer. So you have here the login space, and down under the login space you have the button create a new account. Do you can see the pop-up fenster which appears? Oder muss ich am Bildschirm? Siehst du das Eingabefenster?
Yeah.
Ah, sehr gut. So now you have to type in a username, which you can choose if you want, no matter what. It's on you what you use. I would say it's like test 1, 2, 3. Registration number. Registration number is I have to show it like this. So you find the registration number for the registration in our portal either on the Wi-Fi stick. This is the serial number which you can type in like this. Or if you have a hybrid inverter, you have a, I think I'll show it to you again. If you have a hybrid inverter, you have the second opportunity, and this is registration number. Don't use the inverter serial number, no, only the register serial number, because this one is for the portal. Okay. So you have to type in the number. I just take a picture of it so I don't have to stand up every time. Boop. Then you type in the number, but I think it won't work because we are already registered the system. One moment, please. I will look for a new device which I can register. Weil der Stick ist ja schon registriert. Ah, hilft du auch gerade? Okay. Very good. So yeah, so you're typing in the serial number of the inverter, of the Wi-Fi stick, sorry, of the Wi-Fi stick. NTV, SB, NTV, KSB, KSD, VD. So you type in, and you can choose your password by yourself. I recommend to make a stronger password than I do right now. Danke dir, vielen Dank. So I recommend you to do a stronger password than I do, but this is just for test reasons, so I think that would be okay. Country, in my part, it is Germany. And an email address is always good to have, because if you lost your password or anything like this, you should type in your email address, because first one, it's mandatory, and if you forget your login data, you can always set it back, or reset it with the email address. So just use, you have to type it in anyway. I take mine. Mobile number, you don't need to have to type in. Name, you don't have to type in. And this is really important to set those two checkboxes, because this allows us to remotely maintain the system. And this is really important. So just a second, let me take a look. Snip. Come on, come on. This is just for me, don't worry. Okay, and if you have typed everything in, just save it. This registration number has been used. Muss ich nochmal neu starten? Vermutlich, ne? Der sagt, has been used. Ich muss sie wahrscheinlich erstmal. Okay, that's a problem. What I thought what would appear, because we already registered this Wi-Fi stick in the. Maybe I just have to refresh it. So let's try it again. Create a new account, because we had to unbind it from the system to just to demonstrate it. And yeah. By the way, this is a message which appears when a system is already registered. And if you bought a system which is already registered, you can call us and we can unbind it. And yeah. So test and vorbei. Okay. Okay. Machen wir es wieder so. Okay, just let me do it again. The email address. Just checkboxes and Savio. Please select a country. My failure. I didn't select a country. Germany. So if you type in anything wrong or anything is not there which you need, the system is complaining about it. So as you can see, this was the first part where you have to type in your registration number. And the second part is it appears automatically. You have to type in, for example, the system size. I would say here it's about 3 kilowatt peaks. Time zone. Yeah, since all these things with the red dot are mandatory, so you have to fill it out. Amsterdam, Berlin in my case. Country, Germany. Yeah. So you have some more details which you can fill in if you like, but you don't have to. The other details you can put in is the postcode, the province, city, and anything like that. And the other thing is you have to mark the system on the card. So this is just for Yeah, for the weather forecast, for example, so you can see, or the system can do forecast what it will do. It's now I'm looking. Oh, this Leipzig is a little bit far away from Frankfurt. So we are in the Russell time. There. Pam, and it is set. And you have to do this checkbox. As you can see, I agree that the site can be remotely maintained and functionally set by the agent installer. That means that we have access to your system and can change settings. This one you don't have to put in, you can, but you don't have to. So complete. And now the registration is successfully, and you can log in. My username was test and SolaX, and the password was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And just log in, not saving. And then you have access to the system. So as you can see, you have here all the necessary information about this system. You can look it up all over the world. We have one inverter, one site, online inverters, and you can see a lot of this. And what I'd like to show you, I think I have to switch the display which I share when I do this, but that shouldn't be a problem. Okay, so because you have here device management, and there you have the remote setting part, where you can do the remote settings, which I showed you on the inverter right now. Just let me take a look. I should have a picture of it. So siehst du die Einstellungsfenster oder? Okay, dann muss ich tauschen. I have to switch the window real quick. Just a moment, please. Jetzt aber, ne? So this is the remote control thing. You have to type in your serial number, H1E 502 F6 135046. In this case, you need the inverter serial number, not the serial number of the Wi-Fi stick. So serial number does not exist. I think I have a typo. H1E 50 2F6 13546. Okay, I know what the problem is, because I set up the system again as a new one, and until the system sends the data to the portal, it could take to 15 minutes. I have obviously no connection to the thing, but not that wild. Basically, it's the same what I showed you on the display of the inverter. And yes, it is really simple. It's a really simple thing. I think I can show it you with another device. Just let me take a look. Just let me share some screen again. SolaX monitoring. This is the Mozilla. I don't need this one. I need Minute. Okay, I hope this is the right one. Come on. Okay, I have to restart the program. 1 second, please. Das kann ich erst mal abschließen. So, open this there. Okay, very good. I'm there. Okay. Bin ich weg?
Nur das Video, aber nicht der Bildschirm.
Ah, okay, ja, ich habe gerade eben war ich irgendwie verwirrend tut. Okay, dann nochmal. Okay, so I will show to you with my own system, so you can see what you can do on settings. By the way, my own system is not a hybrid system, so you don't have all the settings there. But to show you what I mean, I think it's pretty fine. So I go to inverters, type in my system name or my username. Please don't look at this too much because this is my administration thing. You don't have this one. What I want to show you is remote settings, and this option you have too. So let me change my track real quick. I think that should be okay. And I put my own serial number in it. And as you can see, I can access this because it's already, where is it gone? Oh, come on. Come on. So, okay. Sorry, just clicked it away. So you can access this right here, basic settings. You can just do settings like language, language and work mode and anything like this. Unfortunately, you can see it in my because I don't have a hybrid inverter. But as you can see, it's pretty comfortable to do it on the remote side. Advanced, as I already mentioned, the password is 2014. Never. Oh, maybe I changed it. And I use another one. Yeah. So here you can, for example, change the norms, power factor. You have the grid values after you change the norms. You can see it here. It's basically automatically. But even if it's automatically, you can change it by yourself. For example, like this. So that means if your country settings are not in our default settings integrated, you can set your grid settings by yourself. Export control is the thing which I already explained with the dynamic power limit. Basically, as you can see, you can do every setting which you did on the display. You can do here online on the remote control. So yeah, basically, yeah. Okay. So this is I changed the password too much, so that's my own system. Please don't be angry about this. Yeah, I think those are the advanced basics. If you have any other questions, if you need any help or anything like that, don't hesitate to contact us. We help you in every case which you can and which is related to our products. So yeah, if you're interested in our products, just ask everything you want to know. Can you please, or do you have any questions after this presentation right now?